This is wild. NHL insider Elliotte Friedman has dropped a major Calgary Flames trade report after the team has gotten off to an abysmal start to this season. Friedman says it's no time to add. In fact, it could be time for the opposite, and he's not the only esteemed insider who has reported this sentiment. We're going to get into all that more in this video, but first I want to welcome you to Flames Digest. I'm Mark Griffith. If you're new around here and you love the Flames, make sure you subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the latest news, updates, reports, and rumors revolving around your Calgary Flames. We would love to welcome you to the Flames Digest family, and the path is clear for the Calgary Flames, at least in the eyes of, I'd say, most of the NHL media and insiders, most of the fan base, honestly, and just casual hockey fans in general that aren't Flames fans. But either way, there's a big episode of the 32 Thoughts podcast that came out today, and honestly, the Flames were talked about quite a lot in this podcast, which was great. Usually they're a team that's not covered all that much outside of just Flames media. Now, Let's take a look at, I guess, some of just the key points. So, NHL Trade Alert, they tweeted out that 32 thoughts today. So, Elliotte was talking about Calgary's future and how they should not make changes to fix short-term holes to get their heads above water. It's been a terrible start. Is now the time to add to try and get back to the playoffs? Elliotte does not think so. So, the Flames are trying to build for when their new arena opens. If a slam dunk trade comes in, then you have to take it. Now, you can interpret it, or you can interpret that as either, a slam dunk comes in for you to be better now and you take it, or to offload, and absolutely, why would you not take that trade? Now, the win column pointed out some more things that Friedman said on this kind of trade report and trade talks for the Flames. So some other Flames talk in the recent 32 Thoughts podcast. So Calgary will need the strength to go against the grain and do what they typically don't, which is sell and tank. That's what Friedman thinks. Friedman, obviously, he's got quite a hockey mind. He absolutely, as well as a lot of the fan base, definitely the majority of the fan base, thinks that the Flames need to sell and tank, which is something that, you say typically have never done. The Flames have really never done that. So Friedman stresses the organization should avoid targeting short-term fixes like they have in the past to try to stay above water. Kind of what, NHL Trade Alert already said, but it's just true once again to reiterate. It's not about adding a guy right now who you think can bring you over the top to make the playoffs. The Flames kind of tried to do that last year with Frost and Farabee. It didn't quite work out. They've done that so many years in the past. Remember when we got Eric Gustafsson? Remember when we got Oscar Fantenberg, thinking that would take us to the Stanley Cup? It just hasn't quite worked out for us. Some more points. So Calgary never wants to throw in the towel. It's not what they do. And that's, the people who are in the minority of the fan base right now and want the team to still continue. That's so true. It's so good to have that loyalty, always trying to win games and honestly not try and just give up at that point, which is also a fantastic point. Another thing is the goal has always been to keep the veterans around and not tank. That's part of the culture. The veterans themselves have said that, and this team, as we know, wants to win. I know they're 1-5. It's not a great start, but hey, 5 losses, you could still go 77-5. Another person says it might take someone in the organization standing up and saying, tanking this year is what we need to do. No short-term fixes, no way. And again, that's how the majority of the fan base would feel. Elliotte Friedman shares that sentiment, as do, like I said, most of the fan base. I think probably quite a few people around the Flames might want to do that as well. It's just the actual organization, of course, doesn't want to do that. But maybe it might take someone to say, hey, look at some of the successful teams in the past. They've done really bad to become really good. And is that the correct formula? It's one formula. It's not what Florida did. It's not what Vegas did, but it's what other teams kind of like, Chicago did. So there's different ways that they can obviously go about it. Now, Friedman isn't the only one saying this or talking about it. So Darren Dreger's also making trade reports. So he said about Rasmus Andersson that if things go well, maybe better than expected, the door is always open. Now, the smart money is on a Rasmus Andersson trade. That hasn't changed for me. So to bring more context to this tweet, essentially, he's almost saying like, oh, maybe Rasmus Andersson will kind of stay. The door is always open to him staying, but if you were a betting person, you would probably still bet on Andersson getting traded, but the door is always open in Calgary for Andersson is kind of what Dreger feels. So in terms of Rasmus Andersson trades going around, that's kind of that. And it's funny too, because whenever you talk about trade talks for the Flames, of course, Rasmus Andersson is the number one guy. That's obviously who Elliotte Friedman is alluding to as well, Rasmus Andersson. But we've heard Nazem Kadri's name come up, Blake Coleman, some of the other veterans as well. So actually, The win column also came out with more trade talk. So they said, following the Flames' rough start to the season, the idea of selling off more veterans for future assets has become even more clear. Nazem Kadri's trade value should be something the team could capitalize on greatly. So they as well think, it's kind of time to sell, maybe time to tank. Kadri's trade value is really high after last season. Obviously, hasn't had the best start to this year. Still 4 points, leads the team not terrible. But, essentially, again, it kind of comes down to a lot of people think that the Flames should trade away some players. Now, I definitely hit the wrong button. There we go. Let's get into here, actually. Let's get into tonight's game, because clearly that's where I was meant to go and got a little crossed up there. But the season does continue. It's been a bad start. You saw a little flash of it, but it is a Flames game day. The Flames are at home in the Dome against the Winnipeg Jets. The Jets off to, obviously, a pretty hot start. It'll be interesting to see Jonathan Toews in a uniform that isn't the Chicago Blackhawks sweater. But either way, the Flames are at home to Winnipeg. This one goes at 7:30 p.m. Local time, so a bit of a different start time, which is always interesting. If we take a look at the lines, it's a little bit of a shakeup here. So these are the Flames' projected lineup tonight against Winnipeg. So a top line of Kadri, Huberdeau, and Farabee. Coleman, Backlund, and Coronato, not Honzek on that line. Honzek instead finds himself with Frost and Zary. That's quite an exciting line, I'm not going to lie. Hopefully they can get, some energy going. And then Kirkland does come in. He will be back in tonight, centering the line that has Lomberg and Klapka. And then, of course, Ball with Andersson, Bean with Weegs. That's a little interesting. And then Hanley with Parekh. Hanley hasn't had a great start to this year either. But, and then Wolf in net once again. A lot of people were thinking, maybe they give him a break. No, he will be in net, and it will be Hellebuck in net for the Jets as well. So a bit of a tougher goalie matchup for the Calgary Flames. Now, there's one name there that, is missing, I guess we can say. And it's actually for something that Flames fans might find exciting. It is that, if I could hit the right button for once, there it is. The Flames place Miramanov on waivers. So Daniil Miramanov has found his way onto waivers, and Flames fans are funny because the reactions are, okay, if someone picks him up, we're fine with that. If he clears and goes down to the AHL, we're fine with that as long as he's not at the NHL level, which is quite harsh. And I mean, it's just the reality of how hockey is, especially when you're underperforming like Miro has. And then there's the people who have an even further sense of humor and are saying like, no, we need Miro in because we need to tank and we need to get Gavin McKenna. We need more bad players up in the NHL to malperform in front of Dustin Wolf. And then our defense continues to be as bad as it has been and the Flames guarantee lose. But either way, Miramanov is on waivers. There's a little update for you there. The last thing about tonight's game that's a little bit interesting is this. So there's a programming alert for Flames fans for tonight's game. So Monday's game with the Jets was originally slated to be on Sportsnet West, as they all are, but because of the Blue Jays, let's go Jays. Because of the Blue Jays playoff coverage, it'll be on Sportsnet Flames instead. So if you were planning on watching Sportsnet West, that'll be the Jays game. Instead, it'll be on Sportsnet Flames if you want to watch it via Sportsnet, of course. But there you go. That's tonight's game. If we finish up the video with the comment of the day, as we love to do here on the channel, it does come from yesterday's video, of course, which was about, BX's comments about Sharangovich and the Flames in general. And Joe Scores here, he got the most likes out of any comment and simply said, Bieksa spoke the truth. And it's harsh to go after one guy in particular when the team is this bad. And I'm glad the Flames defended Sharky, especially Weegar spoke out and defended Sharky. But there's still a lot of truth to what Bieksa said. It was a slight rant, I suppose, but maybe a lot of people within the Flames organization need to hear it. Sharangovich definitely needs to hear it. Actually, if there's one thing you notice, he's not in the lineup tonight. So maybe that'll be a little bit of a learning curve for him, a little healthy scratch. But either way, found that interesting. And overall, as much as Flames fans don't love Kevin Bieksa from when he was, a member of the Canucks and then Ducks, sometimes he does speak the truth. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to what you saw here today and have a wonderful rest of your day.